I like this one a lot better than last month. It
You
was
like this?
it's easier to get through and stuff. Yeah, it was nice. I love all his little like tidbits and stuff. I did a lot of underlining and highlighting and
A lot.
yeah, it's like the modern day Think and Grow Rich. It's like there's
Yeah.
so many like nuggets in there. It's like crazy.
I'm always amazed at so much wisdom people have, and I'm
Mhm.
like it seems like they lived how many lifetimes in one book. It's just to me, it's so baffling. It's um just the wisdom and the knowledge and life experiences. It's really cool.
And they have to have like a passion too to even do it to begin with to get it out there because there's really like no profit in making writing a book. I mean, my friend wrote one and she said it costs so much for the publisher and that Amazon just forget it. Takes more than half. Like it's
Hmm,
ridiculous.
hmm.
So
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband published a book. He self-published a book,
mhm.
and we didn't make a lot of money on it, but it for writing a book, it's more about what the book brings you, the opportunities, and it's like I will say that this book is more like, first of all, it's right up my alley. I like reading this, but I said I had to kind of go quickly through the end of the book to meet the deadline tonight because I kept getting sidetracked on the podcast. And I mean, I listened to a lot of podcast episodes. I think I read an additional book because
Uh,
like I just kept following his, the trail
uh,
on the different I said we commented on the Facebook group that it's kind of like a reference book, something you
Yeah.
can go back to. So it's good to
Mhm.
take it in all in one, like the as far as the system. But there was a couple of chapters, Rachel, I don't know if you recognized that when you got to, let's see, the chapter exercises and towards the beginning of the book, the reinvent
oh,
yourself, that all those the power of reinvention was kind of what we did in coaching. So
yeah, some of it was, yeah, the similar phrases and activities.
yeah, so that was very affirming, I thought. And I thought about like for you and um if you if you've been my client, you've done the work on the reinvention pieces.
And
So
then like the intention too, because there's a lot of that throughout the whole coaching process for yourself and everyone else and having
yeah,
intentionality and stuff
did you
like that.
guys recognize the process? Let's see. On
Yeah, well,
on page 306,
oh, let me see. I have the Kindle,
he
but
lays out his process, right?
oh, okay.
The 6-step deliberate action process that creates a cycle of progress. As nurses, do you recognize this?
I I have like 20% left to read, I will admit.
That's all right. It's the nursing
But
process.
no way. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
it
Okay.
totally
It's
is.
not the same words, but it's the same process. And I think I see that over and over again in personal growth books and systems and strategies. And I know that it comes up. I'm a big one for creating success strategies. So if I have a problem, I'm going to create a strategy, like a ritual or something that's going to make it a habit. And I find that the nursing process works really great for that. So it's that he says analyze, we say assess. He says
Mhm.
prioritize, we say diagnose, because you pick out the priorities. Like what is your patient really dealing with? What are you really dealing with? What is the one thing that you would want to focus on? And it's just that's the process of how we can also do with ourselves that deliberate action process. um he says ignite, we say plan.
Oh,
He says execute, we say intervention. He says measure, we say evaluate. and then it just keeps, going around in the circle. So I think that
Wow.
this is also why I get so excited about, I mean, as nurses, we are really equipped to figure this out on our own. I mean, we love these books, right? Um, but how many times if we just relied on and we elevated the kind of things that we already do and stop taking them for granted or compartmentalizing and seeing that, okay, when I educate, this is what I do. When I do with my patients in healthcare, I do this. At my job, I do this. But to see that process is the way we can approach our own lives, our own healthcare, our own well-being. So I got really excited about that.
I think it's too, because like the thing, I don't remember what chapter it was, but the astronaut who just like went into action, like he said, if he had to describe the steps or process that he actually took, he couldn't. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that he just had practiced it basically so much, he just
Wow.
like, it was second nature, so it's kind of like it's in there for us, we're just doing it, but we just don't really even realize it.
Realize what we're
Yeah.
I've never sat down and really thought about like all of the steps,
Mhm.
what we're doing every day. I guess I'm not that analytical, but yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I think it's so second nature now at this point, like after you've been a nurse for so long, it's it's just kind of embedded in you, you're just doing it. Yeah, in
Yeah,
your
I mean, we call it
day.
our critical thinking skills a lot of times, and it's just comes
Mhm.
automatically. And then when it comes to our own goals, our own health issue, our own well-being, we it's like well, I know what to do, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
Like we get that confidence but if we could just pull from all of our expertise that we already have to solve some of those things. So
It's so true. It always seems so much easier redirecting someone else, because I even had my son say things to me sometimes, Mom, like use your own words or your own medicine on yourself, it's like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I'm like, okay, 17-1.
So what other things came up for you? Like, if did you listen to another podcast, or was there anything else that just really stuck out with you? I know that there were several times during the book that I just wanted to stop with the exercises at the end and just like the anxiety optimizer. I spent a little time
Oh,
with that, just really processing that.
okay.
And doing some of those exercises and seeing how could I take one of those exercises and make it my own practice, and just really taking that apart. I think then
Yeah.
doing some of that imagery and the targeted focus,
Yeah.
I found all of those very meaningful, and just in a way of like just taking those and then combining them for myself. And how could I then too help other people with if I have that at the ready, if I have one exercise that I'm familiar with that works for me, could I have that ready for someone to help someone else as well? So I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. That was one of the things that's on page 163,
Oh,
the
okay.
an anxiety optimizer.
Oh, I
Uh,
did remember that one.
Yeah.
yeah, I like the way
Yeah.
you think about it's a little different way to think about anxiety. And I
Yeah.
did try it out on a couple of my colleagues, and I'm mentoring a group of 10 nurses right now, and I kind of tried some of this out on them, and it's really, a couple of them are like, oh, I like to think about anxiety like that as a something that I could use
Mm,
as, to my advantage and
yes.
optimize it to propel
Yes.
me forward instead of getting all overwhelmed and quitting or disengaging or
Yeah.
feeling all those feels.
Because everybody has it, and he's just saying, okay, well, reroute it, you know, use it to your advantage. And yeah, like today I had it's kind of funny. Sometimes people come up to me and I don't really know them that well, but they feel like they share all kinds of things with me. And this LNA, or you guys probably call them CNAs, she came up to me today and she's like, I have a wedding and I have something else coming up and I'm really anxious right now. Do you have any Tums? And she was just going on and on. And I'm like, okay, I remember the box breathing.
Yeah.
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 she's like, yeah, I heard of that. And I'm like, kept talking. I was just trying to calm her down in that moment because her mind was racing too much. But yeah.
Yeah. I use the box breathing all the time for my patients.
Yeah, I like the box breathing too.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Even if they don't do it correctly, it's distracting enough that
Yep, true. There's also did you guys remember the idea flow? I didn't get to look that up. It's the dynamic process by generating a large quantity of ideas and rapid ideation, and then embracing quantity over quality. Like probably like some of the things I do for my education job, that would be a really cool idea to do. I think, well, it's on page 206 in my Kindle, but I don't know if that means it's the same in the paperback. But I thought that was I wasn't able to like jump into a podcast, but it looked like on his website those QR codes that kept coming up.
Yeah.
Uh every time I scanned them, it's like it went to the generic website.
what was that called, Rachel?
Idea flow, and it's like one word. Well, it says 206, but maybe I can look up about which chapter it was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, to us, like that embrace optimism on the darkest days.
Okay.
It's one of the exercises?
Yes, yeah, it's right at the end of the chapter. Oh, which chapter was this? Let's see. It was like in the 200s. So that would have been chapter 9? The originality embracer.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, ooh, I like that concept. And like not being not being perfect everything, because that can cause anxiety. Or what was he talking about? If you embrace, like, you might not get it right. Like he's talking a lot about Steve Jobs, and because I struggle, like I think I like to get things right, else I won't do them, or I'll be like, I guess I'm not gonna try or whatever. So it's like, just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, he also talked about, I think it was in that chapter too, that he talked, was that the 5-minute increments?
Oh, maybe.
Trying to think. Oh no, was that Elon Musk? That was probably a different chapter.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember where, I do remember reading on this Steve Jobs, but I don't remember what chapter it was in.
Yeah, maybe like 14 or something. I think. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Mary.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi. I didn't read the book, but I want to reconnect.
how are you?
Glad you're here.
Thanks.
I was sharing that I didn't make it all the way through the book. I had to like do some quick skimming so that I could be somewhat prepared. Because do you have the book?
No, I actually fell off the grid
That's okay. You
until about a week
did some
ago.
traveling and
Well, I
yeah.
also think I had RSV, even though I got
Oh,
tested negative
Oh,
for
no.
everything. I was out of work for
Oh no.
it was
Yikes.
horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
This book, oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you joined us anyway, because yeah, it's good to connect.
yeah, I wanted to hear about it because I was just looking about it. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll jump on the next book and be more prepared next time.
Yeah.
And then I like,
It's more like a reference book. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
you
like
could
things
take
for
one
things.
chapter at a time and make it, like you can make an experience out of one chapter. But there's a lot of like you get to the end of the chapter, there are exercises. I mean, if you go to his podcast, and I mean, it just sends you down a rabbit trail of any of the chapters.
He references his podcast through the book. And I
Yeah.
liked about like with the rock, I thought that was pretty interesting that,
Hmm.
the power of self-reflection and reinventing yourself.
Oh,
just how his whole thing, I didn't even know his story really. I mean, I remember that he was in the
Wrestling?
the wrestling, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but, you know, he just like, "Okay, now we're gonna do this." It's like, you know, and it comes to, like, a point sometimes in life if you're doing one career for so long and it's not really working as you wanted it to just, you know, to change up, and it's okay to change up and use what you've learned and turn it around. Yeah.
Mm,
I think a
yeah,
lot of times we get really tied to that, at a certain age, you shouldn't change courses or you shouldn't change
Yeah.
careers or you shouldn't go back to school. This is the time that, like, but especially people who are approaching retirement or you get to retirement age, you feel like that's the time that you're supposed to, you know, kind of settle down and settle in. And I mean, people can, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's
right.
definitely not, doesn't have to be, it's not a rule. There's no rule. And I will say that in the books that I've read about midlife and the psychology around midlife, a lot of talk about reinvention and the power of reinvention, and that
Mm,
almost for that stage is good for our brains. And why not, if you want to go back to school and learn something new, why not? Want to change your careers? Why not?
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll get some flack from people, surprisingly. They're like, trying to not encourage it for the most part. Like when I was going back for taking the functional medicine and the nurse coaching, it wasn't too well received. So I stopped sharing it with people because
mm,
they're kind of like, why you want to do that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do like that what they
yeah,
have is like better than what your own mind thinks for you. I don't know.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true, yeah. And he says it in the book too, like, don't listen to those people or like you're not a rule breaker, but yeah, like Steve Jobs, he's gonna sit in a cafeteria and everyone's gonna ignore him and he's gonna get criticized, but I he pushed through it and look at what
Mhm.
he did.
Shoot the mosquitoes.
Yeah, the mosquitoes, like in the beginning, yep. Um, I just admire people like that, and I'm like, oh, what would it take if I had to do something like that? I always ask myself that. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this conversation. I mean, even with my husband, I mean, he's like, I've done everything I want to do and I'm done. I just want to enjoy, he doesn't want to learn something new or change courses or, and I'm like, but I got to start my business and I want to do that. I don't see that ever happening for me. I just don't see ever being okay with settling in and not doing anything or, just watching TV and being
Mm.
happy with that. I don't know.
I barely even have the TV on. My husband's like, "We should get rid of it."
Oh,
It's funny. Well, he'll have, like, Netflix, and he'll watch anime,
Uh-huh.
but he says he watches it so he can talk to the kids about it, but I think he watches it more than they do.
You do get sucked in. My son, yeah, my son gave us um a show to watch and we watched it so that because it was one of his favorites and yeah, he went back to school and we're still watching it. We were still watching it. So,
that's funny.
um yeah, I think probably one of the most common things that I see the hang up being is what is like all of these people had one thing to focus on.
Mhm.
They had the thing that they were passionate about. They had the direction they were heading and they were only heading one direction. I think that's probably the biggest hang up that I see is that knowing that one thing, deciding that one thing, setting your course and just staying it unwavering. And that's, you see that in these examples over and over and over again. And yes, there are really good lessons to learn from them, but again, there was that single focus almost on, even when you see, I was talking about that 5 minute, I'm pretty sure it was Elon Musk, right? Yeah. Like doesn't give his attention more than 5 minutes, gives all of his tasks 5 minutes. So a meeting, 5 minutes. And
Oh, okay. 5 minutes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'd like to try that sometime to see how much I can get done. I was thinking, I wonder if I could write an email in 15 minutes if that's all I got. Okay, so I tried that this morning because when I work the recovery room, it throws my whole week off because I have to go in late, I stay late, and I feel like I felt like at the end of a week in the recovery room, I feel like I fell in some kind of black pit. Like I'm, where have I been? What happened this week? I have no idea. So I decided to make my mornings productive. And so I did 2 15-minute increment things. Okay, I've got 15 minutes. I'm going to write an email. And 15 minutes, I'm going to I'm going to put my social media posts in place so that they post this week for the podcast. These are 2 things that I have to do that usually will take me, could take me a half a day to do these things. And an email can take me an hour or 2 to write because I just get into it, or, just takes what you give it. Right.
Yep.
I wrote the email in 15 minutes
Oh,
and something went wrong with my computer. So I didn't post the thing. So I thought, well, I'll write the next email. So I wrote the next email in 15 minutes. And I thought, it's true. Like it just is going to, like, when you stay focused and you have that, I have a passion, I have a goal, it's right in front of me, and I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to do it. And that's what it's going to, so I'm trying that. Now we'll see when I go to actually send the email, how much I pick at it.
oh yeah. Just change this little thing right here.
Yeah.
Double check.
So, yeah. And then if you're on my email list, you'll see the quality of the creativity going down, down, down. I think I need to spend a little more time.
Oh,
But anyway, and I just I noticed that I was like, what do these people all have in common? Success leaves clues. And so what clues do we pick up from, thematically, like having the passion, having the focus, and that single, because we can, I think we were talking about the nursing process before you came on, Mary. Is that right? Where you weren't here when I talked about that. So imagine if we had like that one focus and we applied that nursing process to everything that we do with laser focus. So what else came up for you guys as you were reading?
I highlighted so much stuff in this book.
I didn't read the book, but now I want to read it, even though I'll want to read the April book too, whatever that is. So it sounds like, really, you're saying it sounds like an exercise book in focus, or am I wrong? And just what would be like the one thing that really was the takeaway from it? I'm just curious, was the one thing that really
Wow.
the takeaway?
I'll let you guys answer that before I do.
To me, it's like it was just to stay on the course. You can be derailed, and it just gives different people's stories and scenarios of how they worked through what their passion was, and gave tools that they used, and how they just continued to move forward. Like I was saying about Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and how he just reinvented himself. He had this one vision, and it's okay, he got moved, but then it's okay to even necessarily maybe shift the vision a little bit. That doesn't mean it's a failure. And you know, just keep moving forward, despite what other people are saying. Know yourself and know what you need to do, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the tools too, Julie, you have gone over in our previous group too, with something that came up too is your I'm trying to think, not your vision, but your beliefs, your values. And you really have to be how your values are and not let anything like sway you. Cause he had a quote for that about what was it? People might tell you what you want to hear, or oh yeah, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And
Yes.
then I like that one. And I liked, two, like deliberately put yourself in uncomfortable situations because you gain confidence, strength, and courage. So, a lot of people like to take the safe road and maybe don't, or I'm not going to speak up, or I feel safe right now. And I kind of like, doing those things is also good. And it kind of ties into reinventing yourself too, a little bit. Like go for it if you want to do it. And action creates action. So I really like that quote too. You gotta keep going.
Mhm.
And if someone falls into a pitfall or a stumbling block, do they go through it? Or, I mean, how do they maintain that like focus? You know, that's always a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it goes back to your values and your vision, and knowing that there will be setbacks, but kind of preparing yourself for it too. I think some of the action steps that he mentioned, we were talking about that previously, like visualizing yourself in that. It kind of ties into the other book too, right? With the meditation.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably like Mary, it's the book is probably embraces a lot of the things that we did in coaching. Is taking her legs and just walking on them, or learning to run with them. And it's kind of embracing the power of the meaning and purpose and significance, and wanting that desire that we have to make that significant impact. And it doesn't necessarily mean just do one thing. It means like just your values, like Rachel was saying, is like, once we identify our values and what our purpose is, what we want to live for, we walk forward in that. And then the book really just it gives us a lot of exercises, a lot of things to think about, what stops us, how passion struck people keep going, passion struck people break things out into little steps. We optimize anxiety, and we take all of the things of our human experience and we use them for that sense of meaning and purpose and making that significant impact. That last quote, I posted it because I was like, this is to me, I was like, I wish that this was in my book instead of his. He says, by challenging the status quo and embracing the power of significance, we become agents of change, inspiring others to join us on the journey. As we do, we create a world where every voice is valued, every contribution matters, and every individual finds their true purpose. So breathe, believe, and battle for your dreams. Embrace the most fulfilling, rewarding, and inspiring way to live your life, being passion struck. Together, let us make every heartbeat count and let our souls shine brightly in this magnificent symphony of meaning. The revolution starts with you. I wish that was in my book. I wish I had written
Wow.
that.
Yeah. That's how he ended it, right? Or no?
Yeah, that's the last. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's a powerful writer. I'd have to say he's
Hmm.
got some amazing stories. Yeah, it's really cool how he gets to interview all these people too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the podcast is pretty pretty much if you want to hear from anybody, you just go to his podcast. He's probably interviewed.
Like fat, probably like, what, he's interviewed anywhere from like Oprah to like astronauts,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, you name it, he'll find anybody.
Yep. What do you think of Mary?
I'm
You could probably read like you could get if you went to his podcast.
okay, I will. I'm just always amazed by people that can keep going even when they run into an obstacle, instead of going down a dark hole of pity. You know, but climbing back out, and it's so easy to find excuses, but you know, climbing back out and keep going. I just like it. And I really like what you said, Deborah, about people saying, why are you doing that? You should be winding down. Actually, you said it too, Julie. You know, you should be winding down. Like, I don't want to do that. Like,
Oh,
fuck.
Mm.
You know, and it's,
Exactly.
I mean, gosh, there's so much out there. Why would you want to, you know, be routine? Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
I,
The hardest things that I've ever done is to get comfortable. I'm not comfortable with it yet. I'm trying to get comfortable with eliminating those people
Oh.
circles and from especially my inner circle. So
Mm.
that's really hard because it's the majority of people. A lot of people that we are just that I am acquaintances with, or colleagues or family members that just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's too hard. So why would I do that to myself? And why would I strive? You know, the word strive is, honestly, you guys, what I did is I started getting comfortable with the word strive. And I don't know, this is maybe says a little bit about how uncomfortable I am, or how my need for acceptance, or I'm not sure, approval, or I don't like the whole idea. I've never liked the idea of putting people out of, like, moving people out of my life. And that always feels icky to me. Except for that, now that I'm so clued into the energy that those people bring.
He had in the beginning, well, in the, I don't know where it would be in the E one, but it was like page 11. I think this might have just, I don't think it was even, yeah, chapter 1 it was. Situation modification basically means intentionality. Having a recognition that if my situation isn't going to support my goals, then I need to change it. And I like highlighted that and like
Sounds like what you're
boxed
going
it
through.
and stored it. Because like like so often you'll just be like, you know, well, this is where I am, and not like really, this is like almost gives permission. Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. But well, you're pretty brave because it's, you know, at work, especially at work too, when somebody say you're trying to get into the conversation with them, maybe not to please them, but I don't know, it's a weird psychology. Um, but not that you're going to ignore them, but maybe if take what they say, but I guess you're not going to ignore it, but just you're not doing anything with it. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
that much to you. And it made me anymore as you start to pull away from that behaviors or the whatever
I
that
don't,
you don't want.
I don't know if you guys have heard of Trent Shelton
Mhm.
before. So yeah, he always says, you know, it's, which I like, this is, it's your glasses. So someone else can't see your vision because it's not their vision. So they can't look through your glasses. It's for you. So that makes a lot of sense too. You know, when you're going for your passion, it's something that's just for you. So to be hearing all this other stuff, I don't know. I try not to do that to people because it's their dream, their vision. You can't really tell someone what they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I even asked myself the question because I asked, I'm good at asking other people questions. And then today I was just like, okay, what would it look like to leave here on time, knowing that I did not finish the task and I handed it over to someone else, knowing that they're not gonna like it, but being okay with that.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it took me about as far as across the parking lot to get it over. When I asked them, like,
Good.
it would feel really good to walk out of here.
I always
So
find that crazy, like with working nursing at the bedside, it's 12-hour shifts and sometimes stuff didn't get done. But I worked days and I worked nights, and
Mhm.
it's just certain people would seem, if you didn't get a task done, the whole entire like
World
every
comes crashing down. Yep.
yeah, and it would be like, well, you're expected like to stay now. Like you're expected to stay and change that IV that just happened to go out. You're, it's like, I don't know. I was never that way. Maybe sometimes you'd tend to get more dumped on if you're not speaking up for yourself
I used
too.
I
So
start saying nursing's 24/7.
yeah.
I'd say that because you get to a point where, dot every I, cross every T. And just remember, a couple of instances where it definitely dumped and because, being who I was, I'd stay and I was like, I'm not
Mhm.
doing this. And I just said, nursing's 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then you get that look. I'm like, yeah, it's 24/7.
Mhm.
Give your report.
yeah, yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. I think it's a culture that's around us and that we were really ingrained into that, and to break it individually is important, even in general.
Yeah. But like if other people see that you're doing that, Julie, and can be like, wow, look at her. And with time,
Mhm.
maybe you can influence other people to do that too. They're gonna probably pick up on little subtleties too. So
Yeah, and it I guess where I got to is, it doesn't matter. And I would say like this book, what does someone who's passion struck do? They're dedicated to their passion. And so it's not necessary like nobody's even gonna remember if I'd stayed and broke down the beds or whatever needed to be done.
Mhm.
But knowing what the priority is and knowing where I needed to be.
Yeah. And another time, maybe you'd want to stay because you just say, I'll give a hand
Yeah.
or doing anything else. But today is not the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a lot of the mental exercises is prioritizing, breaking things apart, knowing what's important, sticking to your values. And I will say that the day that my manager said to us, like she was leaving, and I had a conversation that we didn't get to have, and it was kind of, there was something that was kind of being pushed back. And she said, well, I'm honoring my boundaries and I'm leaving. We'll have to do this another time. I was so proud of her and just, but you, like you said, Rachel, it's inspiring too, because if she does that, then we can too. And
Mhm.
there are times that, that she's held to her values and she's talking about her values. She's saying, I can't be present for my family. If I stay 15 more minutes, that might make all the difference. So I'm
yeah.
out. This might seem like a little thing to you, but it's a big thing to me and my family, and to honor my values, I'm out. So
Mhm.
I've got to keep my word to myself and to my family, and I cannot stay for even 10 more minutes. So like that makes
Ooh,
all the difference
yeah,
Mhm.
in
sure
the
does.
right way. Now, had she stayed 10, 15 minutes, that erodes that passion. It erodes those values. It erodes that the trust that your own brain has in you to hold the line and to remember what's important as well.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So to your point about, yeah, people will see us do those things. And even though that we've got an internal struggle going on, they'll see our actions and then maybe they'll step up for themselves as well.
Yeah.
It gives them permission to be like, you know what? Okay, that is okay to do that. It's not selfish. It's not wrong. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah,
Yay.
which I think
That's awesome.
So- But did
Good.
anybody like, as you're reading the book and some of these things, did a certain passion or path surface for you as far as, like what shifts do you think happened because of this, reading this book?
Mm. I think, well, it gave me more time to reflect on what do I really want.
Mm.
Because I've kind of pulled in different directions, either at work or in my personal life with what do I want to do next, I think. So I'm trying to tease that out. But I don't feel like I was born with to be like, oh yeah, I got such a strong vision, or like, start a business, or I don't, I think maybe some people get it more than others, but I think it gave me more time to reflect and be a little more gracious to myself too, and try to help other people out.
I can agree with that because I feel like I there's a lot of things that I like and I have a passion for, and I've just finished taking the nurse coaching. I mean, know more of what I don't want. I guess it sounds funny, but I guess that's a start too. But it showed me too to really start focusing a little bit more too, and not allowing all the different distractions to pull me away as an excuse. It's funny because my husband, he's an engineer, but he said he's always wanted to be an engineer since he was little. He would take things apart and put them back together, and like I
Mm,
kind of like can like say, ah, that's like such a great thing to just like always have known, like you said,
mm,
that one thing that you want to do.
right.
What would it be like to have that, like a, I don't know, was Shonda Rhimes' quote in this book, "The Year of Yes"?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think at the beginning.
Sorry, you guys, some of these things are things that I did podcasts on, and then I'd be like, oh, I wish I would have read this chapter before.
Well, because I listen to the podcast too, so maybe don't listen to me because I can be like, yeah.
Okay, well, I posted it. It's just, she wrote a book called Year of the Yes, and it's in here somewhere. One of the chapters is on taking opportunities and just saying yes. And that's actually like my whole podcast is default to yes, and it's all inspired by a close friend of mine that used to be something he'd say to us all the time. You need to default to yes. And that meant, it didn't mean never say no, because if you have to say no, you're saying no. Every no is saying yes to something, right? Or it should be. So you have to know to, like, even saying yes to yourself sometimes is saying no. So I'm not saying never say no. I'm just saying say yes to the opportunities that come up, because I see a lot of people, and I think there are times that my default, because of Jim, has always been, that's my friend who always said this to us, because of him, I have a tendency to say yes first. And so I will tell you that the one situation that I had, I was like, because that default is just always there, I was sitting with someone and they asked me to to speak on a stage that I was like, I immediately said yes. Yes, I'd love to do that. And then I got in the car and I actually started laughing. I thought I was going to pee my pants. I was laughing so hard because it was like, oh my gosh, I did not even give that a thought. Like and then it was like hitting me all of a sudden, like what I just said yes to without even a thought. Now,
Wow.
had I thought about it and had I not, like, I think back about that, like, so grateful that my default is yes,
Mm.
because that
Mhm.
opportunity changed everything for me. And it gave me so many other opportunities. Now, I don't know if I did a good job with that opportunity as much as I really well, I probably got to meet all of you because of it. But so it's just like, I've had times in my life that I'd say things like, I was just a podcast guest, did a podcast interview, and I got done and I said something, and she said, well, actually, and I'm like, okay, well, something you need to understand about me. I said yes to this, and I gave it no thought to that I don't know how to do this. So I just showed up here and did it. And now I'm going to create all of the faux pas, make all of the mistakes, because that's what I do. And I'm so grateful. Now I flounder around a lot. And yes, I do like walk away from opportunities and get really like depressed and like, why didn't I learn how to do that before I did it? So I
Oh,
have a little bit of the opposite problem, but I'm so grateful that I say yes to those opportunities. And then I ask people, like, I will ask people, like, will you come on to the podcast and share what you just shared with me? And they're like, oh, I need to think about it. I don't know. And I get so many no's. And I'm thinking, okay,
sure.
my podcast isn't going to probably change your life, but maybe it would. Maybe, maybe it would be a stepping stone to something else. Like, I've so many, yeah. So sometimes I'm pushing a lot, but how important it is to say yes to opportunities instead of thinking about, can I do it? Should I do it? Do I have time to do it?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying say yes to everything so that you're overwhelmed. I'm saying that if there's something in line with your meaning and purpose and something in line with those values, why it's so important for us to clarify that.
Yeah.
What is it that we want to, you know, what is it that we want to live out?
Yeah.
If I want to live and love openly and imagine possibilities and inspire others to do so, if an opportunity comes up to do that, I've got to say yes to it because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen if I go to that event, who I'm going to meet, like you just never know.
Right.
So what would it look like to have like a time frame, like maybe it's not a year. What would it look like for 1 week to say yes to everything that came your way? Do you feel like you say yes or no, or
I definitely probably say no more than yes,
Wow.
unfortunately. I don't know.
yeah?
I guess that's it. That's, yeah, like you said, what's the worst that could happen? In that speaker event, you survived it, and
Mm.
right.
And if I didn't, I'd have another story to tell.
But the mother that said no to everything, I mean, everything. Her response to no matter what it was is no, because she's very fearful. So my reaction was saying yes to everything, which was not a good idea in my 20s. And and it got me in it. I've have a lot of stories to tell, and I survived them. However, I've learned I still say yes a lot more than no. But I think about it a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah.
I mean, yes to the stupidest things going, but because
Mhm.
I'm so used to no, no, no. It's like, no, you have to try everything or get out there. So yeah. So I think saying yes is really important. Um, within reason.
Mhm.
Share what your legs are.
Oh gosh. Live, explore, oh my gosh. I have to say, and it's just, I know this sounds like a terrible excuse, but since this past 2 weeks being hypoxic, I feel like I don't remember things.
The box.
No, I mean, I diagnosed myself. I ended up going to an urgent care, which is where I never do. And, I tested negative for everything, but I know it was, RSV, because it just fit all the picture, even though the test said no. Oh gosh, Julie, I'm looking at my notes here. I have all the notes from when we did coaching together. And I wrote my legs and I had it written in 3 different books. So live slash love, E explore, G
I was gonna say that was
Ground.
grow.
ground,
Ground,
go and
ground,
go
yes.
and go and ground. Yeah, go and ground.
Yes.
Yes, that was it.
I like
Um,
that.
Yeah, I have my notes here. It's terrible that I don't remember, but you know what? I will. I'm
Well,
coming
it's-
back.
put those back up to where you can see them all the time. Because I was gonna say, like, if you have your values, and you have, I just kind of shared my, like, I've got, or that purpose statement that you
Yep.
live by,
Right.
then your yeses and nos, you can align them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just saying, hey, will you bring some, a dozen cookies to work? Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So
Yes.
I saw something by Brene Brown not too long ago, and she said choose comfort over resentment. And that's a really good way
Yeah.
to like say, you say
like
no.
that.
So like, will
Okay.
you make a dozen cookies for work? No, because I will resent that I said that I'm doing it. I will resent everybody who asked me to do it from the time that I say yes to the time I take those cookies. And then they better like them and appreciate them and all of that thing. So she says choose discomfort over resentment. So being uncomfortable, like you're going to be uncomfortable saying no.
I had that
Guess
happen
what I
with
did tonight when I walked out of work? I chose that discomfort of saying, see you later, and walking out over resenting staying there, doing the work and missing this time with you guys.
And
So
I
with the
happened.
guilt too,
Yeah.
like if you feel guilty for it. Because my friend was asking me so a while ago to take this woman. It was like her cousins, like I wasn't even like anybody she was super close with, but she wanted me to take her to the doctor. She was going to the oncologist post having a tumor removed and it looked infected. And the woman didn't speak a lot of English. And I said to my husband, why is she asking me to do this? I'm like, I can't. But then I felt bad for saying no. I did say no, but probably would have been like resentful if I would have went and drove, all the way to the medical center and it was just I don't know, and she knew I wasn't working, so she's like, "Oh, you're not working? Do you think you can do this?" But it was that stacked on a bunch of other things that she kept asking that I had said yes to, and then I finally had to
yeah,
say, no, I can't. She's like, "You don't have to say yes." And it was over
But-
text, so it was a little bit easier probably to say no.
It's my sister used to say, just act like a man, say no. I found legs, live slash love, encourage, ground and soar.
Soar. Yeah.
Or, mm.
I think it's so important. And I think the first part of this book kind of lays out those values and what it is that you want to be. And then, even there's it calls it the mosquito audit, making that list of the activities, relationships, and situations that consistently drain your energy and leave you depleted. Reflecting on your inner circle, take some time to assess the people in your inner circle. and ask yourselves whether they exhibit any of those mosquito-like traits, those draining, and then
Yeah.
evaluate the impact and set boundaries. And I think that's what we're talking about. But I think what happens when you feel guilty and when you struggle with those and when people it's because those things are done out of alignment.
Okay.
When we say no to someone just because we don't feel like spending the time on them, or we want to do, like, that feels icky because it's out of alignment. But if it's in alignment with, we've evaluated, we've done the work, we've set the foundation, we set our boundaries, we know what we're about, we know what our values are, then we can align how we show up in the world with those things.
Mhm.
Right? Then it might be uncomfortable, but it doesn't feel icky.
Right.
We can quickly recover.
Yes.
Like I said, it took me from the doorway to my car to recover because I knew that I was in alignment. And I knew that I didn't put it together until I just shared that with you guys about that choosing comfort over resentment. But that makes total sense.
Mhm.
And when it makes sense, then it feels aligned.
Yes.
Then I can say, is that consistent with loving and living and inspiring and imagine? Yeah, it is. So
Sure is.
Right.
I like that.
we have to do the work up front.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't realize what you just said. Yeah. Hmm.
And that's why we're here, because you guys get it. And, yeah, so to create this space where we can talk and we can go, oh, I'm not by myself. So yeah.
It's great.
All right. So passion struck. Let's create a big like a revolution. Going back to that and the one that I think I wish I would have written. So yeah, that revolution starts with us, and we can move that forward. We know how to do these things to make that choice, work hard, and step into our significance.
It's nice.
Anything else you guys want to share before we go?
Did you pick a book for April?
Oh, no, we didn't. What do you want to
No.
read in April?
Oh yeah.
Do you have any ideas? Because otherwise there's like 100 of them in the back of this book.
Oh, is there? Okay.
I don't know. The endnotes is full of all of the books that okay, I had some do you guys have anything that you're kind of thinking of? There's Jamie Kernlina's Worthy. A second, let me pull my Kindle up to see what all the things that
I like the title of that, but
Yeah.
it's a good one. I'm not all the way through it yet, but I was in her book launch.
oh, neat.
The Mountain is You. That's a good one.
Okay.
The Mountain is You, Transforming. What's the full title?
Title
Oops.
catchy.
What'd you say?
Title is catchy.
Transforming Self-Sabotage into. I'm trying to get back to the beginning of that book. Here. Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery by Brianna Weist. There is another book that Do the New You by Steve. He's a pastor. And the reason why I know him is because he's on Growth. Brendan Burchard did an interview with him.
Oh, I like Brendan Burchard.
Do you do the Growth Day app?
So I do like a little snippet in my Beachbody. He has a Monday Fire
Oh, okay.
on that app, and yeah, I just get like a snippet, but I'm like this close to joining.
We'll use my link.
Okay.
Even if you use my link, even if you just do the free 2 weeks, because that makes it easier for me to find you. And I'd actually like to get a group in there big enough that so that we could start a nurses growth day inside the
Ooh,
app.
love that.
Okay, let's see. What else? What do you guys tell me? What is there a skill or something you want to learn more about? Is there an obstacle that you want to read a book about overcoming? Is it self-worth, time management, communication?
Here, this guy, I knew I wrote a couple of things down, and now I
Okay.
found them in my book, in my phone. It's called The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control. I know nothing about it. It's a path to peace and power. But when I was reading I was looking through different books and just the little summaries. This is, it's by a psychotherapist that you don't have to stop being a perfectionist to be healthy. It's for women who are sick of being given the generic advice to find balance. A new approach has arrived. I don't know.
What's it called?
The Perfectionist's Guide to Losing Control. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see all of you. Mary, thanks for coming,
you.
even just to connect with us.
Yeah, I missed it. Yeah.
Glad you're on the mend.
Good.
All right.
Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
week, you guys.
You
Happy
too.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.